Have you ever wondered if it's possible to run across an entire country, especially in only a few hours? Well, I decided to venture on over to the sixth smallest country in the world to see if it was possible to run across it.
This is Liechtenstein, a small nation in Europe nestled between Switzerland and Austria. It is considered to be double landlocked because it is landlocked between two countries, namely Switzerland and Austria, that are also landlocked. Its max dimensions are 24.8 kilometers long and 12.4 kilometers wide, and I will be running across the whole length of it, starting south and heading north.
Why, you might be asking? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Hi, I'm Ashley, and this is my channel, Ashley Evergreen, a go-to space to share the adventures of living abroad, exploring nature, and staying active in new places. So I'm here in Liechtenstein, and I'm going to be running across this whole country. I recently moved to Germany from Canada, and I also just registered for a marathon. So I thought, what better way to train for a marathon than run an entire country if I can do it under marathon time? So that's what I'm doing today. This is going to be a lot of fun, feeling like I'm back in the mountains, even if they aren't the same mountains that I'm used to.
Before getting to the nitty-gritty of running, I'll just talk a little bit about getting there first. In the morning of the day I was planning my run, we took a train from Zürich, Switzerland to Sargans, which is a municipality in Switzerland. Then we took a bus from Sargans to Balzers, a little village located in southern Liechtenstein. And I just want to take a minute to appreciate this bus, because it actually has jurisdiction to travel between two countries, Switzerland and Liechtenstein, every day, multiple times a day. This moment where you see the river is the moment that we cross the border of Switzerland and head into Liechtenstein. Can you imagine being a bus driver where your job is to travel between two countries every day? I guess pilots do that. Anyway, I thought that was cool. So yes, the bus took us from Sargans to Balzers. I got off the bus in Balzers and walked to the border of Liechtenstein and Switzerland. This border between Liechtenstein and Switzerland is at the south end of the country.
So I'll be running from Switzerland through Liechtenstein to the border of Austria. And then we booked a hotel here. So the plan is for me to run that section as well. So I think it adds another 10 kilometers or so to it, which is good. My goal is to do around 36 to 38 kilometers. This will be my last run of training before my marathon. So that's the goal. Can you tell how windy it is? My eye is watering. There's so much wind. It looks like I'm crying. I promise I'm not sad. Unless it's tears of joy. This is crazy. Hopefully I'm going to be running with the wind, so it'll help sail me across as opposed to fighting against the wind the whole time. But it's so beautiful. I think I might be saying that a lot throughout this whole video. So I'm just about to head over. Do you see? You can see the flags. So that's where the border is. Let's get to it.
Most borders I've been to before this were highly patrolled, and you can't just mosey on over from one country to another by yourself without showing a passport. Crossing a border from one country to another in the Schengen area, which includes this area, is very different from other border crossings. Here, there's no border patrols and no specific checkpoint. There's just flags marking when you are in Switzerland and when you've crossed over and are now in Liechtenstein. So I am currently in Switzerland, right on the border between Switzerland and Liechtenstein. This is the start of my run. You can see I'm surrounded by mountains already, so that's very cool. I'm surrounded by mountains. And then I was off and starting my run. I re-recorded audio for most of the run, so you don't have to listen to the obnoxious howling wind for most of the video. While I was running, I saw some medieval castles, which was pretty cool, and the first few kilometers was me mostly running through small villages and cities. I ran beside a highway in a bike lane for a short period of time before I could cut over and run along the river for the rest of the way to the Austrian border. There wasn't a whole lot of car or bike traffic though, so it was fine that I was in that lane for a little bit.
So I just moved from the highway. You can kind of see it there. Moved off to this, more like a walking path. So this should be better for more of the way. So I'm not beside all the vehicles. So the river is here. That side should be Switzerland.
And now I can pretty much take this trail all the way to the border of Austria. A lovely thing about this trail is if you stick by the Rhine River, it's actually fairly flat the whole way, which is great considering how mountainous Liechtenstein is. I even saw some cows. There's actually quite a bit of farmland here in Liechtenstein.
Vaduz. I'm at about kilometer 5 now.
And in case you're interested in learning just a little bit about Liechtenstein, it's the fourth smallest nation in Europe, and the population is around 39,000 people, and technically it's considered a principality, meaning that it's ruled by a prince. And it became a principality in 1719, which means that it's over 300 years old. The wind here is still quite loud, so I'll continue with a voiceover. I'm almost in line with Vaduz here, which we won't see, but it will be on the right of me. Here I'm at about 10 kilometers or so. Making progress. Right around here I was getting to the 12-kilometer mark, so I decided to have my first running gel.
Okay, so I'm gonna have this one. 30 grams carbs.
Here I'm at about 15 kilometers into the run. It's still quite windy, but is pretty good running temperature, so can't complain too much. While running, I also couldn't get over how fun it was to be surrounded by different countries' mountain ranges. To my left being the Swiss mountains, in front of me pretty much the Austrian mountains, and then of course to the right is the Liechtenstein mountains, which you can't exactly see here because of the hill, but so cool that I can be surrounded by different countries' mountain ranges all at the same time.
I am about 21 kilometers in, and I have about 4.5 to go to the border. That's exciting. I still have a ways to go, but we're getting there.
So I hit a bit of a snag here. I mentioned earlier that I was running alongside the river, but there's a point where I didn't realize that the river branches out to a stream, and if you don't cross the stream earlier, then you have to backtrack. It wasn't a long setback, but it's still annoying when things like this happen. So if you run this trail, don't do what I did. Make sure to look at when to cross the stream so that you can continue along the river to the border of Austria. I'm just hitting 25 kilometers here. This is pretty much the point of the run where the wind is driving me crazy. The wind is causing my hair to continuously go into my eyes and my nose and my mouth. I am currently losing my mind, trying to keep on going anyway. And finally, I made it to Austria. It was a funny moment though, because I was expecting there to be really obvious signage, like, yay, you're crossing a border, welcome to Austria. But I ran right past it and had to backtrack to find the border. There is in fact a sign, I just must have been in my own little world so much so that I ran right past it the first time. There's another pillar there in the grass as well, marking the border.
There it is! Grab it! I can't believe I ran right past that. It literally says Austria. I'm literally standing right now in 2 countries. Isn't that crazy? And then Switzerland is like right there. If I swam to the middle, It can touch all 3 points, but you have to stand right in the middle of the river. So that's probably a no. So I made it to the border of Austria and Liechtenstein. I ran 26 kilometers, but I just wanted to share a few things about this experience so far. It's been so cool. I feel like I've seen so many mountains, and there's been a really good trail system right along the river, which is nice. There's also a trail system that's slightly above the river line that isn't gravelly, so that's great, especially if you wanted to bike it. I haven't seen a whole lot of runners. I saw quite a few people biking it, a few people walking their dogs, but yeah, I think I only passed like 2 runners maybe. And yeah, the views have been beautiful. The weather has been quite nice for running, except that it's been super windy. So there's been times where I felt a little off kilter. One of the questions that I had when I first started this was, is it possible to come here and do a run like this without having a vehicle? Because something like this, being able to run a really great distance in the mountains in Canada, is really not possible unless you have a vehicle. So I can attest from doing this that yes, it is possible. I still have about 10 kilometers to go to get to my hotel, but we took a train from Switzerland this morning, and then a bus, and then I'll run to the hotel. It's quite neat that you don't need to have a vehicle here, so wanted to share that. I'm going to start running again, 10 more to go. That's good for now. So I can officially say that I've ran across an entire country. Yeah! So that's crazy.
I felt pretty rejuvenated here, knowing that I just hit 3 countries on foot in one day. What a cool experience. Definitely not something I could do when I was living in Canada. The runner's high here was real. I also had a few birds joining me. They were having a lot of fun soaring through the wind. I couldn't get over the 360 mountain views. It was just so pretty. Little did I know I was going to be quite miserable in a few kilometers because I'd have to run up hills and do multiple switchbacks. But right now, I felt great. And alas, I indeed found some hills. Sure, I'm currently running down one, but naturally what goes down had to come up first. Running up so many hills after running 26 kilometers was a lot, which is why I don't really have any footage of me running up those hills. I was struggling so bad.
We should be near the end now. I think I have like 2 kilometers to go. So let's hope for that. Just beautiful. That's what I'm running towards. 1 kilometer to go. I'm so close. And my legs are so tired.
And finally, I made it to the end.
So there you have it. It's possible to run across an entire country in only a few hours. So this is what it looked like to run across the whole country.
I mostly used Strava to track my run, and like I mentioned, I ran beside the Rhine River for most of the run. This is the section where I ran inland into more of the country of Liechtenstein, for a total of 37 kilometers.
I think Liechtenstein is a very cool country to visit. The run was just so beautiful. The hike was definitely worth it. So I would recommend visiting. And if you're feeling so ambitious, then consider running through it as well. If you stay by the Rhine River, it's quite flat. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. If you liked this video, then please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see similar videos to this, then please hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and until next time.
Some upcoming videos might even involve this cute puppy.